Hello, everybody. It is Monday, the 24th of April. I want to talk about the living God versus the God that is just spirit. Because there seem to be that God can exist in two different forms. God in the body is a duality. God in the body is not just the body, but he does stretch out beyond it. Obviously, God that is just spirit is just spirit. I've come to thinking about this because I was again listening to John St. Julien, and again, I'm not picking on him. He's by no means the only one that is talking about this. Who's saying, you should go out into all. You should, and that is, he calls it the way of the Christian. He's actually absolutely right in that. Because that is the way of Jesus. He said, those that would follow me, deny yourself. Deny yourself. There was the other way of continuously, love each other, continuously give to one another. But he said that those that would follow me, deny yourself. And that is the way out into all. And again, for many, it's been preached as the only way. The way to the truth. So, and then John is also saying that because here we are in a world of separation, which we're not. That is absolutely false. That is absolutely, we are not in a world of separation. We are in a world where we are full on connected, and that is spiritually connected. So, God in the body, being connected in this world. I had to think about Greg Braden. Now, I can't quite remember how exactly they did that. But I know they looked at our DNA, and they looked at what our DNA is made of in the periodic table, the chemicals. And I don't know anymore which number they used, but they used the number from the periodic table and then used gematria. And then our DNA actually spells God in the body. And it does that in several different languages. Now, for that to be a coincidence, to be happening purely by chance, the odds of that are way out. So we are God in the body. What does the body do? The body restricts your experience because you are, you are now confined to one place, to one moment of time. You're confined to now. You become linear. But then to say, and then you are separated. You're not. The connections between us are spiritual connections. They are built by spiritual forces. They are built by feelings, by emotions. And yes, we convey to each other spiritual messages. I mean, if we just have a rational conversation where we keep the energy low because we want to concentrate on the context of the content of what it is we're saying, that is rational, that is not spiritual. But if we convey something on an emotion, which we quite often do, we are conveying a spiritual message, and we are conveying our spiritual truth. You know, if you send a message to somebody on the energy of anger, that is a truth that is inside of you that you're sending to somebody else. And the higher the energy, the more it will penetrate the other person. You know, it will hit them on the level of spirit. If there is a connection between you. If there is a connection between you. And here comes denying yourself. And here's where John said you should do away with the personas, what you think you are. And he says do away with the mother, the brother, the father, and then there's other personas you can have, obviously, like the banker, the teacher, the policeman, whatever it is you are, or think you are. Whatever role, it is a role that you're playing at the moment. But, and here's the but, I think we must differentiate. There are good personas and bad personas, and it really is depending on what has created that persona in the first place. And I want to talk about, let's say, the mother, because that's something I can speak about from experience. Or the sister, I have experience in that. The daughter, I have experience in that. Now, for starters, you would need to be born female to be a mother, obviously. Not so obviously to some anymore, but to me it's obvious. And in order to be a mother, you need to have a connection to a child. Now, you don't necessarily have to give birth to that child, but there needs to be a child that you care for. And it is true, and there is a spiritual connection between a mother and a child. There's spiritual connections between siblings. You go further out, you can have a spiritual connection with a friend. And it is the spiritual connection, the interaction between the mother and the child, that over a period of time creates the persona of the mother. Nobody is born a mother. The mother is something that's created through a spiritual experience. And so you are basically becoming a point, the point being the mother, that is connected to another point, that point being the child. And you're growing in being that point, and you're growing the spiritual connection. And it's the same with a lot of other personas that are being built out of, being created through the existence of spiritual connections. Brothers and siblings, brothers and sisters, husband and wife, friends. So they are being built by spiritual pathways. There are other personas in this world that are not built. They are also built by desire. They are built by desires. Also built by desires. But you're connected to something that has no life. You desire, like money. The banker. The banker is a persona that is built on the desire for money, but money has no life. So there's to say your energy, your desire might go out, but you receive nothing back, other than pieces of paper, which will not sustain you. So then we must differentiate between how these personas are created. And if we say we are increasingly living in an artificial world, which we are, and that this is becoming an artificial matrix. It's not because, it's not the world, it is us. We are connected in artificial ways to artificial things that cannot carry, because that kind of spiritual energy is born out of life, and that it has no life, so it cannot sustain life. And then if you go like the way of prayer, if you're reaching out somewhere else, let's say there's a sick child, what is actually asking? It is a persona of the mother that has the connection to the child, that is asking, crying out for a child. So there's a point from which a prayer can actually emanate, and that can be given. And here's the problem when you become nothing, because that's what you basically are. If you're denying yourself, you become nothing, and you become nothing in all. First of all, you don't know it. You cannot know it. I hear, the generous heart of God. No, you don't. If you cannot describe it, if you cannot, words fail me, it's because you don't know it. If you would know it, you could name it. But you can't. Here, you know. Here you don't know all, because, as I said, the spiritual connections are limited. But what you know. And actually you can go deep into those spiritual connections to gain a true understanding of them. Of what your spiritual energy is doing to somebody else, what the spiritual energy you receive from somebody else is doing to you. Yeah, so here, in a limited way, you can understand the interactions. You probably still have to make the effort of realizing they're there and trying to understand how they work. If you just do it unconsciously, you're not aware of what's actually happening. So no, the way into all is not the way into knowing, it is the way into not knowing. This is the way of knowing. And I don't know what happened, because in all the old teachings, one of the basic understandings in all of them, all over the world, was the basic understanding always was that all cannot be known. So how has this suddenly turned on its head? And another thing we used to know, that was that when we talk about wisdom teachings or about wise old teachers, spiritual teachers, we say they are old souls. That means they have lived many lives. That means they have been in the body many times. So what, they came back to being completely disconnected, to know nothing, and that's what gave them wisdom? This is totally on its head. Same with Thoth. The Emerald Tablet, and there's what some would consider a wisdom text. And what does he say? I've been to many worlds, I've taken on many forms. I've lived many lives in a form. And that is when it comes to the knowledge of the Creator, if all cannot be known, you need to restrict the experience. You need to be something that can receive a knowledge. And it will take several lifetimes to still not know all, but know more. I think we will never know all. But if it's for you, it's all or nothing, then you probably end up with nothing. But the way into all is actually the way into nothing. Denying the personas, denying yourself, is the way into nothing. And it is disintegration. Rebirth. Okay, let's look at this. What is even happening here? The idea of disintegrating and being reborn, which again is what Jesus, that was the way. Yeah, deny yourself, disintegrate, knowing what you are. And that is not only happening in the spiritual teaching, that's happening in the materialistic world. Yeah, what we know we are is being disintegrated. The things that we have built by which we know ourselves are being disintegrated. And our spiritual personas are being disintegrated on that spiritual path until you become nothing. And then you go into all to be reborn. Now, the biggest problem I can see with that is, for starters, all cannot give to you. It has nothing to give to. There's nothing there that can receive. And what is rebuilding you? It is not you that is rebuilding you in that state, because you know nothing anymore that you could build from. Nothing cannot rebuild itself because it's got nothing left to build with. So then what is rebuilding you when you are in that state of complete disintegration? You know, the butterfly hasn't gone to mush in the cocoon. What is rebuilding you? It needs to be something else that still knows what's what. That will then give the knowledge to you, and that is not all. That will be another being, another God. And that is the book of Revelation, where God comes to rebuild you. But then you have no longer got free will. You have no longer any control about what is going to build you. In this world, through the connections, through learning, through the spiritual connections that are all over the world, we are not disconnected here. We are full on connected here, spiritually connected to each other. Even to nature. People have spiritual connections to nature. Some things give to us, some things don't. They all create a persona. Some will lead to life, some won't. But this is gradually building of spiritual knowledge. But we would need to become aware of what it is we're doing. That will build knowledge. But if you're completely disintegrated, and then something can create you. It can give you the fullness of its knowledge and rebuild you. Have you reborn into another. There'll be another persona. There is going to be another persona, but that is no longer based on what you know and on your experience and on your choices. Somebody else will do it for you. Somebody will evolve you into something. And that is, for me, is the greatest danger of this idea of growing into all. Letting go of all the personas permanently. I think you can do it temporarily in order to ask. It is the persona of the mother that is asking, but in the end the mother will have to step out of the way to let the answer come in. But she shouldn't disappear completely. Because then, as I said, there's nothing left that can ask. Just tell me what you think, please. Think about what I've just said. Those were the two ways, and one is God in the body, the spiritual connection between us and everything else, that is working through personas that are being created by the spiritual connections themselves. That was the one way that is in the New Testament, continuously give to one another. And the other way was, yes, deny yourself, shoot out into all. Just tell me what you think. I really think it is the wrong way. That was the wrong way. it is something that can happen temporarily, but it is not something that should be the way completely. Anyway, tell me what you think. I leave it at this for today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.